Do you want a gaming experience like a desktop in a thin and portable design? Then get the all-new ROG Strix G15 with Ryzen 9 5900HX, which is having an 8-core 16-threaded insanely fast CPU. To get a just quick idea, here is a Cinnamon score. The higher the score, better is the performance. We'll be attending every single point that you can see on your screen right now. Let me just get on to the first one, and that is the design of this. On the back, we have the ROG logo, which lights up when the screen is turned on, with the bottom half being the small dotted ROG stickering, which is divided by the ROG stickering itself. When you open it up, we have 15 inches of 1920 by 1080 pixels. To notice, there is no webcam. Given that you have to convince your parents to get you the RTX 3050 and a Ryzen 9 5900HX for your online classes, it is really difficult. It is a little bit downside though. Speaking about the downside, on the chin you have a really big bezel, which is pretty much the ROG Strix signature design. On the bottom again we have the ROG Strix logo itself. Looking a little bit down, we have the red and black finish, which is a typical ROG design. Further, we have a beautiful keyboard. It is full size with media controls, has good amount of key travel, ideal for your gaming purposes. Keyboard has a 4-zone lighting with per key RGB but not per key light itself, which is again a signature design of the ROG Strix itself. That's everything that you need to know about the whole design of this. Let me just get on to the next one, and that is the build quality of this. The top lid is made up of complete metal and the bottom half is made up of pure plastic itself. Now this is a good way to reduce the weight of this monster. All in all, a solid build in my opinion. I'm a little bit concerned about the hinge quality of this because at the lower end it becomes really weak and it falls off quickly. Apart from that, it does not have any top lid flex or the keyboard flex, but the screen wobbles a little, but that should not be an issue since you will be always using it on your desk or your table itself. No one games keeping on their lap, right? Moving on, let us talk about the display itself. For the display, we have 1920 by 1080 FHD anti-glare, max peak brightness of 250 nits, 45% NTSC, and the most crucial part is 144 Hz of refresh rate itself, which is smooth in my opinion. For all your gaming needs, you at least need a 120 to 144 Hz of refresh rate, and that is ideally given in this gaming machine itself. To be very honest, this is not at all a great screen you can buy in this price segment. The screen could have been much better. Go for some better options with the upgraded display version. Colors are not accurate, could be much better. Moving on, let us talk about the specifications itself. For the processor, we have Ryzen 9 5900HX, which is an 8-core 16-threaded massive CPU. In this particular chassis, the CPU has been overclocked in the turbo mode itself. I'll be testing out performance in the silent, performance and turbo mode, so stay tuned for that, which can kill any workload you throw at it. Moving on further, for the RAM we have 16 GB, 8 into 2, 3200 MHz, which is really good in my opinion. For the faster CPU, you need a faster memory. That is what is going on in this modern world. Moving on further, for the storage we have 1 TB of SSD, which is sufficient enough for all your gaming needs. Please put on your games on a faster drive to enjoy less of your load times itself. For the graphic card, we have NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3050 Ti, which is an really good for all the AAA titles in the modern world, which will give you an easy of 50 FPS in all the AAA titles of the modern world itself. Really good in my opinion. We'll be comparing all the game tests in the end, so stay tuned for that. Okay, so let me just get on to the next one, and that is the performance of this. The real world performance is as good as shown in the specifications as well. It is having a stable, reliable clock speeds and can maintain the peak performance in under pressure modes as well. That is how the performance of the laptop is judged, right? The laptop is so much so capable that it can outperform any Ryzen 5, Ryzen 9 or Core i5 or Core i7 in the series in terms of the computing power itself. Want to edit a video, do 3D rendering or play AAA title games? You can do it with perfect ease. I tested with no charger performance mode since we could not get the turbo mode on the charger itself. I got the Cinnamon score of 3485, and I tested with the charger turbo mode. I got the score of around 4300 itself. In turbo mode, all the 8 cores are overclocked and the CPU really reaches to higher temperatures. To get much closer idea and with minimum errors, I tested the Cinebench R23 score. With the charger, we got 11,818 as the score, and without the charger, we got 9,246 itself. Now, with the charger and without the charger, there is a difference, because with the charger, you get the turbo mode. Without the charger, if we get into the performance section, then here we get the max output of the CPU itself. The cores of the CPU does not get overclocked in the performance mode, but in the turbo mode, they get overclocked. That is why we are getting a significant difference with the charger, without the charger, performance and the turbo mode itself. Moving on further, let us just talk about the gaming performance of this. Talking about the gaming experience, the games I tested were GTA 5 and Cyberpunk 2077, both of which were one hell of a graphic intensive game which will push the GPU to its limit. In GTA 5, with everything set to high and ultra, I got an easy of 45 to 50 FPS itself. The games are really smooth. The 144Hz and a nearly 60 FPS brings the best out of the gaming experience. During testing, the fan noise were significant since I tested using the turbo mode with the overclocking of the CPU itself. Again, in Cyberpunk 2077, with everything set to max possible settings, I did achieve 55 to 60 FPS in game itself. The motion blur while driving the car really puts you right in the situation. For whatsoever reason, I could not get the GPU usage to display on the screen, so I did quit the game just in the middle of the game just to check the stats of this, and the GPU was running at full power and reaching nearly 100%. That's everything that you need to know about the game test itself. All in all, a great performance laptop for the specification. Let us talk about the fan noise itself and how can you control it. In the silent mode, the CPU can reach up to 94% with the fan speed reaching up to 2100 RPM and the GPU fan reaching up to 3100 RPM. Under performance mode, the CPU can reach up to 100%. Now, the fan speeds will crank easily up to 4300 RPM because the temperatures of the CPU can get really high. Now, in the performance mode, the GPU fan was reaching up to 4500 RPM. In the turbo mode, the CPU can reach up to 100% with the fan speed reaching up to 5200 RPM for the CPU and 5400 for the GPU fan itself. So this is all the differences when it is overclocked and it is not overclocked. In the overclocked condition, the CPU was easily reaching 80 degrees. Sustained 80 degrees was my calculation. It was reaching above 90 degrees. That was not an issue, but on an average, it was 80 degrees itself. Okay, let me just jump onto my screen and show you the Armoury Crate software. To launch the software, you have to press this one button which is in your function keys itself. And as soon as it launches, you are welcomed. This part of the screen is where your CPU usage and the clock speeds are being marked, and here is the temperature it is going on. Just to see, there is no CPU usage. The frequencies are getting really high because it is under overclock mode, because you can just see over here we have the turbo mode enabled. Now the CPU temperatures are reaching up to 77 degrees. You can see the fan speeds, base fan speed is reaching up to 3100 RPM. You can easily hear the fan noises in this particular turbo mode itself. When I switch to the performance mode, you can see that the fan speeds have been switched to 2400, 2300 and still reducing in my opinion. In the performance mode, the laptop gets really quiet and you can see a slight decrease in the CPU temperatures as well, and the CPU frequencies will easily go below 4 GHz itself. You can just see all the status on your screen right now, and here is the RAM and the storage speeds, whatever it is showing. Now if I switch back to the silent mode, usually in the silent mode they are turned off, completely turned off, and they are going to reach a maximum of 2100 RPM, nothing much than that. Apart from that, in the software you can control the RGB lighting on your keyboard and the ROG signature RGB lights as well. If you are switching this option back and forth, you can turn on and turn off the GPU itself, external GPU, in case you want to save some of the battery life itself. I'm just going to unplug the charger. Once I have unplugged the charger, it is running on the battery. you can just see the temperatures dropping off quickly. When I just unplug the charger, the turbo mode is now disabled. Let me just plug it back in and show you. So once you are plugged in, again it is switching from silent to the turbo mode. Turbo mode is now available. You can just switch it off. Let me just get on to the next one, and that is the ports on this. On the right hand side, we have the clear hand. You can do anything on the right hand side. It is just to give you that gaming experience itself. On the left hand side, we have one audio jack, two USB 3.0 type A. On the back, we have the charging port followed by a LAN port. Again, we have the HDMI 2.0, which is followed by a USB type A, followed by a USB type A 3.0 into one port itself. For the connectivity, we have Wi-Fi 6 certified, which is really good for all the modern server-based games, whichever you have. Apart from that, we have the Bluetooth 5.0 for faster transfers between the two devices. This is everything that you need to know about this ROG Strix G15. If you liked our content, please do hit the subscribe button and join the family right away, and we will catch you in the next one.